I get it. You've been trying to set up your boundaries and they aren't working. I know for me, when I'm trying to set up my boundaries and it's not working, or I have boundaries I have set up and they're not working, it's absolutely exhausting. Sometimes it's frustrating. Boundaries are hard. If they were easy, then I wouldn't have spent the past 7 years creating and maintaining healthy boundaries in my own life. And I wouldn't be helping other people do the same in their own lives. I'm Samantha. I'm a life coach who helps people connect with themselves, identify their needs, and create a life that honors them. A huge part of that is helping people build boundaries that are maintainable. If boundaries are so important, then why are they so hard? There are three categories of things that can get in the way of our boundaries, and I like to call them boundary blockers. These boundary blockers can show up all over the place. Sometimes we're in control of them, and sometimes we're not. So let's break these boundary blockers down and talk about what we can do to identify them and change the ones that are in our control. The three categories that most boundary blockers can fall into are social structures, health, and finances. Let's dig deeper. Social structures. This category has a lot of big hitters, and I'm gonna let you know off the bat that they are not great. Speaking of which, sexism, racism, and ageism are huge, absolutely huge boundary blockers. Now, we're not going to dig too deep into this. We're just going to dip our toes in the pool because the pool is deep and the water is literally everywhere. The main thing to be aware of is that boundaries are an expression of power. So if you are coming up against a form of discrimination, you aren't being allowed the power that you need to set boundaries. And discrimination is all over our society. It doesn't just show up in sexism, racism, and ageism. Now, there are instances where you can overcome these isms. I've been in situations where I've been able to overcome sexism as a boundary blocker. I've also been in situations where there's so much sexism that it's hard to maintain any boundaries. I'm sorry. I wish that these forms of discrimination weren't all over our society. What I can tell you is that if you plug in with the right resources and the right people, you can start to make change and put those boundaries in place for yourself. So don't worry, you can do it. Another boundary barrier that falls into social structures is culture. And this barrier plays out the most in family culture. You ready? Think about the last holiday that you were at. Is there a specific thing that your family does every year at that holiday? Maybe the food, maybe the way you celebrate. For my family, it's Christmas gifts. We give them out in a very specific way. Every year, the same way. It's a little chaotic, a bit of a production. But if it changed, everyone would be aware and there would probably be, some comments made about it, for better or for worse. Families have patterns that they play by, and setting boundaries can disrupt those patterns. Every family is comprised of multiple different connections. You have a unique relationship with everyone in your family, and each of them has a unique relationship with everyone else. I like to think of family dynamics as a spider web. They're all unique and individual lines of connection that are all then connected to each other. So when a boundary is put up over here with sibling number one, the rest of the family can feel it and sense it through the web of connections. Not only are you affecting this one relationship, but all of the other relationships as well. Breathe, okay? It's a lot. You got this. Now, on top of that, your family is used to the dynamic that they have. It's routine for them, it's a pattern, and it's consistent. And within that is a sense of safety. So when you try to set up a boundary, that sense of safety is disrupted. No matter what that boundary is, this idea of routine is linked to the idea of safety. So when you're over here trying to set up a boundary with one person in the family, and again, visualize the web, it's affecting the other relationships. You are perceivably affecting the sense of safety in your family. So, whether or not your family is actually safe, those patterns help them to feel safe. As you can see, family can be a huge barrier to the boundaries that you want and need, but you can overcome them. It just takes time and consistently showing up for yourself in that space. The second category of boundary blockers is health. Health encompasses a whole bunch of different things. We are going to focus on the physical, mental, and emotional, and how those three can be barriers to the boundaries that you want and need. It's important to remember that those three are linked together. So when one is affected, all are affected. Yay! Let's say, for an example, you've stayed up late watching your favorite show and now you are tired. Your body is physically tired. But not only that, your mind is tired and it's harder to regulate your emotions. So when a situation comes up where you want to set up a boundary, you're already at a bit of a disadvantage. The first step in setting up a boundary is identifying and connecting with how you're feeling. You have to be able to connect with that emotional aspect of yourself and then mentally process, what is this emotion telling me? What does that mean I need? And then you have to set and maintain that boundary. All the while, your body's just tired. And so everyday things are hard. Eating is hard. Getting out of bed is hard. Being able to tend to your body and give it the things that it needs is a huge way to help yourself overcome this boundary barrier. Now, just pause for a second because I do not mean self care. That word doesn't fully encompass what tending to the body means. Tending to the body is anything from taking a shower, going to the doctor, eating, resting, journaling, reading a good book, sitting on the sofa. It's everything that your body and your mind need to be at their best and to be healthy. Sometimes tending to your body is getting a manicure or a pedicure. Sometimes it's just being alone or being with people. It's how you help your body do what it needs to do and get the things it needs to get. Now, it's easy to say that tending to your body can help you get the boundaries that you need, but tending to your body can be really hard if you're dealing with a chronic illness or pain. The best thing that you can do in those situations is keep showing up for yourself and helping yourself get the things that you need. Your body and your mind are amazing tools, and if you're helping them get what they need, they're going to help you set and maintain the boundaries that you want. Okay, the third category of boundary barriers is finances. Yes, everybody's favorite thing to talk about, second to family. You're just getting it all today. Okay, most of us have bills that we pay. I would assume. Some of us pay our own bills, and if we are paying our own bills, then we need to have some sort of income, typically in the form of a job. Now, if your boss is consistently pushing your boundaries by asking you to work extra hours or take on other people's commitments that they're not getting to, it might be hard to set up a boundary because you need that job. I've been in that situation. I worked at a job where we were consistently understaffed by two people. And so we were asked every week to work overtime, sometimes asked to work multiple shifts overtime. And I said yes for the first couple of months. I always said yes whenever I was asked because I was underpaid and wanted more money, but also because my boss had favorites and I really wanted to be one. I could tell that if you were a favorite, things really worked out for you, and I wanted that. But the more that time went on and the more that I said yes to her, I started to feel myself getting resentful. I was saying yes, but I was resentful that I was saying yes. And that was an indication to me that I didn't actually want to be working extra. So I stopped. I stopped saying yes. I stopped getting paid more and I did stop being one of her favorites. That was hard, but I was able to do it because I'm part of a dual income household. If I wasn't, I would have had to keep working those extra hours. I probably would have had to work even more extra hours. And so, in this way, income and finances and bills and everything that encompasses can be a barrier to the boundaries that we want. Another way that finances can be a barrier to the boundaries that we want is if we aren't paying our bills. Maybe someone is helping you pay your bills, and because they're helping you pay your bills, they think they're entitled to an opinion about your life. Or you're an adult who lives with your parents, and because you live with them, you may not be able to set the boundaries that you want and you need because there's risk involved. If they don't agree or don't like, they may choose to say you can't live with them anymore, and that's risky. So, what barriers do you feel are getting in the way of the boundaries you want and need? Take some time and make a list of all the barriers you feel you're coming up against. Then go back over that list and highlight everything that's in your control. Sometimes things are out of our control, and we have to identify those things and let them go. But there are ways that we can take small steps towards change that we want. Keep coming back to this exercise every time you feel like you're coming up against a boundary barrier. And if you want more information on how to build boundaries that are going to work for you, stay tuned to my channel. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, hold yourself gently.